World War Z. Brad Pitt versus zombies. You gotta make some zombie movies for the ladies, you know? You got Brad Pitt in this movie, his beautiful, luscious, blonde locks of beautiful hair. Looks like Rapunzel in this movie, damn it. So just like I Am Legend, this is another studio attempt at bringing zombie movies and making it a big blockbuster film. So it follows Brad Pitt, who's a government worker and government stuff, and he hops from one country to the next, and government stuff, and government stuff, and government stuff. That's my summary of the movie. The movie has a very repetitive structure, I would say. It's Brad Pitt goes to location X, talks about government shit, zombies attack that city, bounce to the next city, talk government shit, zombies attack, bounce to the next city, talk government stuff, zombies attack, bounce to the next city. It's a very repetitive movie. I don't think it has like a nice flowing feel to it. I feel it's very clumsily made, I feel this movie is. And I hear there's a lot of studio interference as well. So overall, I don't really like this movie, I'm not gonna lie. But there are still some things to enjoy in this. I like how the zombies kind of act like fire ants and they'll stack up on top of each other and go over walls and shit. Actually, no. You know, I don't really even like that because I find it's just not scary. I find it's just goofy looking. I'm going to talk about a later movie in this series that does a similar thing, but it does it right. Actually, I'm just going to say it now. It's Train to Busan. Train to Busan has a scene where one zombie clings on to the train, and then another zombie clings on to that zombie, and we slowly see them kind of build to a mass pile. In this movie, they're just comes out of left field. It's like this wall in Jerusalem is working until all of a sudden zombies are like, oh wait, we can stack up like fire ants.
It's too loud. Coming over the top!
It was very strange. But no, back to positives, sorry. I was kind of digging for positives there. But back to positives. This is a true positive. I like the scene in the pharmacy. I like early on in this movie where chaos is starting to ensue and society is just breaking down. You see like a cop that you think is going to help out, but instead he just steals food and leaves. No order in this city. That's something that's kind of scary. I feel like during this whole coronavirus pandemic, you started seeing a little cracks in the shield of our society, and to see it completely shatter in a film, I think it's really interesting to watch from a horror perspective after having lived through the coronavirus shutdown and still currently living through it, by the way. It's not gone anytime soon, but so yeah, that's what I think was interesting about the movie. But overall, my thoughts on the movie. First problem I have with the movie is that it does two things that I don't like in movies. Number one is when you have this tired character arc. Brad Pitt, he's at home cooking pancakes with the kids, and then he gets a call from his old employer, and the old employer is like, we need you now more than ever. And Brad Pitt's like, I'm not about that life anymore, I'm settling down. And he's like, but you're the best we got. And during this whole film, I never understood why Brad Pitt was the best they had. Don't get me wrong, Brad Pitt's a good-looking gentleman, and he's got a six-pack that can crack open a bottle of beer. But throughout this movie, I feel like he's just lucky. The scenarios they put Brad Pitt in, he doesn't narrowly escape because he's clever or because he's like strong or anything. he narrowly escapes out of luck. I kept noticing that throughout the movie, that everyone he's around dies except Brad Pitt, and then Brad Pitt will bounce to the next city, and then there's a new group of characters, and they all die besides Brad Pitt. I'm like, how lucky can this guy be? From the first freaking scene of the movie, he gets his car demolished by a truck.
Great, get your belt back on.
A truck rams into his car, T-bones his car, and he walks out without a scratch. You're like, okay, well, that's lucky. And then the very last scene of the movie, not the last scene, but the climax of the movie, he has to choose from a ton of different pandemics, which one is he going to inject in his arm. And 99% of them are deadly, but one of them won't kill him. And of course, he picks the one that doesn't kill him. I just feel like this character had too many lucky breaks, and you look at something like an Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is put in situations where he can narrowly escape, but he's strong and he's clever, and he can get through it, and I believe that. Same thing with Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible films. Like, I feel like Tom Cruise is the only person who can narrowly escape from those scenarios in those movies. Brad Pitt is just lucky. He's like, I don't want to say this about Brad Pitt, but I feel like he was baked throughout the whole movie. So this whole movie to me was like watching a Jack Sparrow just like narrowly escape through scenarios, except it was Brad Pitt and he kind of looked stoned. That's what was going on in my brain during this film anyway. Come at me, I'm sorry, that's just what I was thinking. You look at a movie like Contagion and how realistic the pandemic was played out in that movie, and then you watch something like this, which is going for a more realistic, what would happen to society if a zombie apocalypse were to happen. And I feel like there's so many things that are just not realistic. For instance, there's this scene where Brad Pitt's wrestling a zombie, and the zombie bleeds in his mouth. And he's basically like, oh, it's been 11 seconds, I'm fine, I won't catch the virus. It just went in my mouth. I didn't get a bite. Which is like, how do you know? Like, if a pandemic were to happen, you wouldn't know the route of which the virus can go through your body. Like, it would take large amounts of research just to know that. The movie doesn't really make much sense, and it's trying to be that realistic take. Kid characters are annoying. I hate it in disaster movie films when the family is trying to escape, and you just have the characters like, wah, wah, Daddy, where are we going? Daddy, what are we doing? I'm like, kid, shush. In this movie, the first scene, Brad Pitt's zooming through the city. The kid's like complaining that she doesn't have her blankie. If I were 8 years old, and I did that with my dad as he was zooming through a city in the middle of the zombie apocalypse, he would have slapped me in the mouth. Shut up, kid. Daddy's trying to drive here in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. No one gives a shit about your blankie. Moral of the review is, look, I get that movies want to have mainstream appeal for zombies. Zombies have always been a more niche thing. You want to bring it to the masses. I get that. I don't think this is the movie that does it. I think I Am Legend actually is a better movie than this. At least in I Am Legend, Will Smith was charismatic. Not saying Brad Pitt's not a charismatic person in general. I'm just thinking he was a little miscast in this. He did produce the movie, so I'm thinking he was attached to the source material. And the movie seems to have an environmental message at the beginning of the movie and kind of drops it later on. But I feel like that's what maybe drew Brad Pitt's attention to this project. I don't think this is a necessarily good movie. And I remember when it came out, people really liked this movie. And I think it's because there was so many studio interference moments plaguing. I remember hearing like headlines that this movie was going to have to get reshot, like completely, like that Han Solo movie that came out recently. They had to like reshoot a whole like third of the film. And I feel like people were walking in like, oh my god, this is going to be dog shit. And it wasn't complete dog shit. So people were like, whoa, this movie's good. I wouldn't call it a good movie. There's better options out there. If you're looking for a zombie movie that has a good mainstream appeal and it's just a fun time to watch with your friends who aren't necessarily into zombie movies or aren't necessarily into horror in general, I think you should pick I Am Legend over this. I think you should pick Train to Busan over this. Review coming up. Yeah, Train to Busan would be a better selection. Even 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later have that broad appeal to them, but they don't treat you like you're an idiot. And I feel like this movie did. And there's talks of there being a World War Z 2, which don't call it that. It would be an awful title. World War Z 2. I don't know, it just sounds weird to me. What would be a good title for a sequel to World War Z? World War Z, Resurrection. Give it like some cliche subtitle like that. No, but I heard they're making a World War Z Part 2, and they're going to have David Fincher directed. I would much rather see David Fincher do David Fincher things. He's got that Netflix movie coming out called Mank about the filming of Citizen Kane. And I think that's like a really interesting thing. And I was starting to get a little worried for David Fincher because his past few movies, they were good, don't get me wrong, but they've all been like detective murder stories with a desaturated look. And I feel like he was kind of heavily relying on that thing. I want to see David Fincher kind of try something different, but I don't think World War Z 2 would be the best thing for him. Something like Mank is really outside his wheelhouse. That movie doesn't even look like a David Fincher movie to me. He drops that desaturated look, goes for a black and white vibe. He's paying homage to movies of that time, from the trailer anyway. Like he's got the old like film logos and stuff like that going on. So it really doesn't even feel like a David Fincher movie, and I'd much rather see David Fincher do whatever the fuck he wants. I'd even rather see David Fincher do another... didn't he do a music video? What was the music video? He used to do music videos for Aerosmith. Isn't that what he used to do? I'd much rather see David Fincher make music videos for Aerosmith than a World War Z 2. No, I'm not saying the original source material is bad. I'm not familiar with it. The only thing I know about the original source material is that in the original, it's China that started the virus, and then when they wrote the script, they had to change it from China to South Korea or North Korea. I forget which one they said it was. I think they said it was coming from South Korea. I did a whole video on stuff like that. I'll try to remember to fucking tag it, but yeah, that's the only thing I know. My friend read the book. He said the book's pretty cool. He said the book's nothing like the movie. The book feels more like Contagion, apparently, where you have like different stories kind of going on simultaneously. Yeah. I don't know. This movie, skip. You can skip. Shh, it's okay. You can skip. No one's gonna judge you. Just skip it. Watch I Am Legend. Watch Train to Busan. 28 Days, 28 Weeks Later.